Guys, we're going to get started. We asked Matthew Barnett, who is the founder of the Dream Center. Is that the right? Is that the right
correct.
term?
That's correct.
We asked him to get on and talk a little bit about leadership, because what he's been able to do has just been amazing. And for those of you who don't know, can you share kind of what you guys do at the Dream Center and what you've accomplished?
Yeah, it's really incredible on a day-to-day basis. You just imagine the city of Los Angeles and all the needs that are around us, from homelessness to drug addiction to recovery, families that are homeless, just needing help. And we're just a big old hospital on the Hollywood freeway that everybody knows, that's available to be there to help people when they're in time of need 24/7. So the cool thing about it is that, we have a landmark iconic building right here in Los Angeles. And it doesn't stand for necessarily fame or, being in the movies. This iconic building stands for comebacks. And that's what we do every day. We help people make great comebacks in their life, from the depths of despair, from homelessness, from purposeless living as well. It's one of the things that we really deal with, is not just the fact that people have needs, but the fact of they have potential underneath all the pain and the struggle. So we just don't minister to people's needs at the Dream Center, although we have hundreds of people that live here every single day whose lives are being transformed in this old hospital. And but at the same time, we really get to people's potential, and that's how you lift them out of where they are and take them somewhere new.
How many people do you guys feed a day for free?
We feed 1,500 hot meals every day in the cafeteria, and we feed probably about 30,000 people a week in all of our feeding programs together. So it's 43 food truck sites. You can imagine a truck going to a location and feeding 200 families per location 43 times a week. And then, of course, probably closer to 40,000. You include all the other organizations that come and get food from us and take it back to their local communities.
How many per day? I mean, 50, how many per week do you feed?
Yeah, 30,000 people a week we feed, and 1,500 hot meals every single day. Yeah, for free every day. 43 sites that we take our mobile trucks to and deliver food into these communities.
Did you say that you guys have a grocery store that people can go and get whatever they want from?
Yeah, we didn't realize after COVID and the drive-through that we were doing, we fed 5 million people at the drive-through at the Dream Center with cars that were coming by. Many people saw it on Instagram. It's kind of a phenomenon where up to 11 hours a day we were feeding people. But once our cafeteria started opening again, we opened up a little store right next to, so right before they go in to get their hot meal, they can get 15 to 20 items at our little store that's right in front of it. And so people, and we didn't realize now with all the ship backlogs that are going on, and like 68 ships, I think, can't get through the port right now. It takes, 3 to 6 days to unload every ship, I think, or 6 to 8 days, I heard the other day in the news. And so little do we realize is that all that food that we were putting into that store would become an absolute phenomenon during this time to be able to meet those needs. So it was quite surprising that that store was really built for such a time as this, in this moment that we're living in. And so families are coming every day. They're getting hot meals to save money for rent. They're coming by, and of course they're getting food in the store to be able to take care and stock their shelves when there's very few opportunities to do that. So it's pretty exciting how sometimes you think you have a good plan, but I know God is sometimes leading us ahead of our plans and actually preparing the way before we even get there.
All right, so just to back up a little, can you tell us about the marathon you ran and why you did that and what you did, and just anything about mental toughness? I don't think a lot of people know about this.
Yeah. Well, as a leader, you got to do whatever it takes, to set an example, to make things happen. And 27 years of doing this, we've been through everything you can possibly imagine, through storms and victories and battles, and wondering if you could make it one more day and all these types of things. But we went through a really great growth spurt where we actually added 200 beds for people that are homeless and going through recovery in just a matter of a couple of weeks. I mean, it was crazy that we just finished the building, and then we said, we're going to add 200 more people to live on the campus. And so what happened was I think I grew a little bit too fast as a leader. I was a little excited, and we just kind of stepped out and said, man, we got these floors, let's just start filling them. But then there's feeding every day. There's, all kinds of maintenance and electricity. And so I knew we were in trouble. And so I got a text message from a guy. He said, you heard about these people that are running the World Marathon Challenge, 7 marathons on 7 continents in 7 consecutive days, 7 marathons, 7 continents, and 7 consecutive days. And I said, yeah, I mean, it sounds great. And then he said, I'll give you $50,000 to the Dream Center right now if you agree to do it next year. And we needed the $50,000 right then. So I said, sure, not even thinking about what the cost would be, right? And so as the year went on, I was running in the morning, trying to make it happen. We were really going through a hard time. But people started stepping up and supporting. I was running at 90 miles a week. I was running that right before I go to the office. I start running at 5 o'clock in the morning. And when we got to the marathons, everything was going well. We started our first one in Antarctica, and I ran a whole marathon on a glacier in Antarctica. It was absolutely unbelievable. Negative 30 miles, negative 30-degree temperature on one side, and then like 5 degrees on the other side of the course. It was the most bizarre thing I've ever seen. And all these headwinds blowing, and we finished, and we took an old Russian cargo plane to South America. We ran in Chile, and then Miami, and then Morocco, and then Dubai, and then Australia. But when I got to number 4 in Spain, our Europe continent, I had a tear of my patella tendon in my left knee. And I had to literally go through a patella tendon tear and lock my left leg and drive it for 3.5 marathons and try to get under 8 hours, which I did, to get to the finish line. And what kept me going was all the people back at the Dream Center in recovery who said, Pastor, if you get to the end of the marathons, I'm going to get through my recovery program. I found homeless families at the Dream Center saying, if you get to the end of that, I will get to the end of my GED program and families. So it became kind of, we call it face yourself. Whatever you've got to face in life, go for it. And then that's what leaders do. When leaders go through tough times, they just get tougher. You put on a smile and you keep going forward. And to be honest with you, as a pastor, I used to think you're a hypocrite, right? If you smile and you don't feel it. That's not true. The truth is, when you smile and you encourage when you don't feel it, that's when you've really gone to the next level of leadership. Because anybody can be encouraging when the conditions are right and everything is going perfect. But it takes a real leader when times get tough to say, you know what, we can still win. And even sometimes if you don't feel it and it feels like you're even faking it, the truth is you're acting in great compassion because you're operating beyond what you feel and you're giving other people what they need. And so that is very dangerous sometimes to be true to yourself, because yourself will lie to yourself a lot. I just try to be true to the fact of how can I be a blessing in somebody's life every single day.
Can you, that's insane, first of all, but it shows what type of leader you are and shows how you've been able to accomplish what you've been able to do. Can you also talk about the Skid Row thing that you did? Because for people that don't know about this, like, you actually went and lived on Skid Row to see what it was like. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, I was going through a time in leadership where I was going through the motions, and I felt like I really needed to do something to break my heart. And I felt led to go spend some time on Skid Row. I didn't really know how long it was going to be. Ended up being 3 days, the most unbelievable moments of my entire life. Living in those cardboard boxes and seeing the brokenness and the despair of humanity, and talking to people with drug needles in their arms in tents, and by the porta potties and those rats that were the size of softballs, and just kind of being down there in the middle of the night and seeing the pain from a level unlike anything I've ever seen. And then I looked to my corner and I saw a tent, a little Dora the Explorer tent, and a family was living in there. And I talked to them and I said, if you had a place to live right now, would you go? And they said, absolutely. And then I called our team and said, look, guys, we need to take in this family. And little did I realize that behind my back, my team not only decided to take in that family, our first family we ever brought in, they opened up 25 rooms on a floor for more families. Because I said, well, why did you open so many rooms? I only told you to take in this family. They said, Pastor, we know you, that once you start talking about helping people, you would never stop. So we decided to open up 25 rooms in preparation for what we see is about to come. And that was a moment I'll never forget. It shaped my life. Just little things like standing and waiting to get food in line. I've always been on the side of maybe giving it out, and now I'm here and then panhandling for money and feeling like the rejection or the looks that people would give you. It was very different coming from a side of completely putting yourself in the mindset of being in that homeless place for 3 days and understanding what it was like to be on that end versus the giving end. And it really shaped my experiences, and it broke my heart. And I think leaders sometimes need to go to places that are uncomfortable to allow your heart to be broken so that you get to understand why you're doing what you're doing, why you're prospering, why you're being blessed, to be a blessing to somebody else. And I think going to the valleys, and I always say, I get all my inspiration on the mountaintops, great teaching and all that, but I usually get all my vision walking through the valley of need in my community.
How many people are living in Skid Row?
I believe it's like 10,000.
The 10,000 homeless people.
Yes.
Okay. Can you give us the story on how you came across Family First Life and Sean Mike? And
yeah, well, it's actually
how did we cross paths?
The first time I met him was 5 feet above me, right here, above this floor on the rooftop of the Dream Center. He was coming to town with the leaders and business influencers, and just on a time of being together with them. And these are guys that just wanted to study different models of leadership and grow. And he was with them, and so we get this phone call saying, "Hey, we'd like to bring a bunch of guys to see the Dream Center." So I was showing them around, and a lot of them were genuinely touched. But when it was over, they very clear parameters, don't give any of your brochures out to anybody, and and all that. These are kind of like our people. And so I'm like, that's fine. I just love to share the vision. No big deal. And it was over. Everyone left, to get in a bus to take off. And Sean stayed. And he just started walking around the campus and talking to people. I'm like, this guy is different, man. He didn't get back on the bus. And you could tell that his heart was so connected with the people. It was so unbelievable. And he gave me a call and told me about what he experienced and how he wanted to come back and see it again. And then it was one after another. It seemed like every other week he was in town just talking to guys in the recovery program. Like one of the guys that we have here is going to give testimony in a few minutes, but just talking to them about their future, talking to them about dreams. And he would speak to them at a level, not like, hey man, when you make your comeback, then you could do great things. It was more along the line of he was seeing things in people they never saw in themselves. He was calling out things. He was calling out greatness. He was calling out expectations. And when I saw that, I said, that's exactly what leadership does. It sees things in other people that they don't see in themselves. And it was quite a remarkable experience. It was kind of like he's just living for a way. He's bring another one in my office, bring another one here. And so people were just coming to my office one after another, and he's just pouring life into them. And then I thought to myself, I don't know much about this company, but this is a completely different company. This is a leader that just gets it from a foundational level that I have never seen before. I mean, and then we began to walk the journey together. And, it seems like he's been there when we did big Christmas events, when nobody was doing Christmas events during COVID. He allowed us to just break barriers. And to be honest with you, in some ways, Family First Life has pretty much saved the Dream Center during this time and allowed us to have firm foundation to be able to go forward. And so there's people in your life every once in a while that come into your life. They just don't transform you as a leader, but they transform an entire organization. And because of you guys, we've been able to add 2 more floors for families that are homeless, in addition to the ones that we have, and just all these great things. But I just never forget the way he talked to people. It was almost like he talked to the people in the program like he had the highest dignity and respect for them than anybody else. I was deeply moved by that experience.
Yeah, can you share kind of the details of that group of people? Was a very, very wealthy group of people, right?
Yep, they were.
Very.
Yeah.
And I remember Sean asking how much money was donated from the people that were there.
Yeah, and the answer was 0. And he about threw the phone across the hallway. I could feel it back wherever he was back home. But he was pretty angry about that, in the sense of how in the world could people experience such life transformation and not want to do something. And it's neat to have somebody that will fight for you, you know, and he's a fighter, and he's like, hey, he was deeply confused by that. And then so I want to make my first donation to you guys. And then it just became a mentorship, a friendship. I think we both bring something into each other's lives that's very, very special. He's increased our vision, our belief to believe more after seeing the growth of your conference. You know, I never dreamed something could grow that fast. And so we learned a lot of different things along the way. And it's pretty exciting to see where it's heading from here.
That's awesome, man. So you brought somebody in, an example of someone that has recently been at the Dream Center, and they're going to tell us their story right now.
Yeah, this is Eddie, and Eddie is he's still in our program. He graduated a 1-year program and now 2nd-year program, but he's got an amazing story. You know, a lot of times people in Los Angeles say that you can't rise from homelessness, that when a person's homelessness has hit rock bottom, it's almost impossible for them to change. Eddie's got a great story. So he's just gonna share a couple of minutes, then I'll come right back on. But just like he did yesterday, Eddie at church, and just go ahead and look into that little green dot right there up top and just go for it.
Hey, good morning. My name is Eddie Epicino, and I'm 42 years old. And I grew up around Los Angeles. I grew up around the Dream Center, not knowing that there was such a place like this, you know. And I grew up in, you know, with a lifestyle, you know, with my family, you know, using drugs, involved in gangs and everything. I just lived down the street, just down the street from here. And, you know, witnessing my dad, you know, abuse my mother, you know, and just a lifestyle of just fear and hatred, you know. And that's how my dad ruled the house. He ruled the house in fear. And that's how I grew up, believing that that's how a man should be, you know, to rule things and to get what he wants through fear and intimidation, you know. And as I continue to get older, it's, you know, things just started taking a turn in that same direction. You know, the very things I didn't want to be like was I was becoming, you know, and which led me into going to juvenile hall, you know, getting involved in gangs, going to juvenile hall, going to juvenile camps, you know, then eventually finding myself in prison. You know, I went to prison. I picked up a life sentence. I had 31 years to life in prison. And you know, while I was in prison, I was just, you know, I was just violent. I was just continually to be violent. And what happened is I found myself in a place called the SHU program. You know, the SHU program is where they house like these serious violent individuals, you know, and I was very violent. And because of that, I was in my cell alone, you know, because I wasn't allowed to have a cellie, because I would always, you know, I was violent with them, you know, and so I was kept away from everybody else, and I was there, and that's where God came and revealed himself to me, you know, and as he did that, it just broke me down, you know, it broke me down. And I just told God, like, you know, if you let me, you know, if me being in prison the rest of my life is to pay back all the wrong that I did out there in the world, then I accept it. Just take me home when I die, you know. But if you give me a chance to go back out into the world again, I promise I wouldn't do the things that I've done before. And so, you know, 13 years in prison with a life sentence, you know, that kind of did something to my mind, you know, thinking like, man, is this the end of me? Is this where I'm really going to be at, you know? And 13 years of that, I wound up getting a release date. You know, they wind up overturning my life sentence and letting me out. And my dad, not knowing, he came to the Dream Center, because the Dream Center, like I said, my grandma, my family lived down the street still, you know, and the Dream Center takes food to my grandma's house. You know, the food trucks go there, the ones that go and deliver the food, they know my grandma, you know, so they're always going over there. So my dad told him about my circumstances of me getting out of prison and this and that. So the Dream Center sent me an application to come here. I filled it out, I was accepted or whatnot. And when I got out of prison, you know, I had a change of mind. You know, my dad's like, are you gonna go to the Dream Center? I told him, no, I think I can do this on my own. And you know, he tried convincing me to come here, you know, and I believe that this was where God was leading me from the beginning, you know, but you know, I decided to do it on my own. And upon doing that, like, I found myself worse than I was. I started doing the same thing, the very same thing that I told God, you know, that I promised God that I wouldn't do. I started using drugs again. I started, you know, abusing alcohol and doing all kinds of crazy stuff out there. And I found myself to where my family's like, look, we don't know what to do with you anymore. You know, my family was afraid of me now, you know, and I found myself out on the streets. I was out on the streets, man, and down the street from here at the McDonald's, I was, you know, I had nowhere to go. It was cold, and I made myself a little makeshift place for me to sleep in a night with cardboard by the McDonald's next to a trash can, you know, and I remember making this little you know, hut or whatnot, so I can only crawl into it, you know, and I crawled into it, and I was just sitting there. I was like laying in there, and I was just thinking, like, you know, like, man, is this what has become of me, you know? And I started crying out to God, you know. I was like God, like, you let me out of prison for this, like you let me out of prison to come home to this where my family don't even want me, nobody wants me, you know. I was better off in prison. You should have left me in prison, you know. And I remember God, you know, God telling me, like, you know, like why not you, you know, because I was crying out, telling them, like, why me, like, why is this happening, like, why is this, you know. And it wasn't a punishment type of thing. It was just the things that I had to go through in order for me to finally surrender and come to a place where God needed me to be, you know. And after that, like, you know, I could hear the rats and the roaches and everything just crawling all over this cardboard thing that I was in, you know. And I was there, and about a day or two after that, I wound up coming to the Dream Center. You know, I was at the end of myself. I just threw myself on the street, you know. I threw myself on the street, right on the curb, like if I was garbage, you know. I had no self-worth, that nobody wanted me. And literally, I just wanted to die. You know, I really just wanted to die. I felt there was no hope for me. There was hope. I was hopeless. There was nothing left. So I wound up being led over here to a Dream Center. And when I came here, like, it's amazing, you know, that this place has been here the whole time, and I've never knew about this place. I grew up around here, around the area, and I came here, I came here 23 years ago, and I got forklift certified here, but it wasn't nothing like this. It was just like a little place that they had, and I didn't know nothing about the discipleship program or anything like that, you know. And so when I came here, I wound up going through the discipleship program. And through the discipleship program, you know, and through all the leadership and everything that was here, like, it really helped me. It really helped me to change my life, you know, and crying out to God and allowing God to do his work in my life. It's been amazing. It's been an amazing journey in my life. You know, I've been sober now for 2 years, you know, and I have never been sober in my life. Even when I was in prison, I was using alcohol and drugs, you know, and there was nothing out there that would stop me. Like, I could not do this on my own. There was nothing I could do on my own, you know. But coming here and just giving it to God, you know, coming to find out that the issues in my life were much deeper than I just thought they were. I was just scratching the surface. And the reason of my drug and alcohol addiction was because there was issues in my life that were that were not dealt with, you know, things that happened to me in childhood. And being here is giving me the time, giving me a whole year to just, you know, where they provide clothing for me, they provide the food for me, they provide, you know, leadership and Bible studies and guidance on how to grow in a relationship with God, because this cannot be done just by man. It cannot be done by me. You know, I mean, I could have never done this on my own, you know, and so this shows me that, this revealed to me that only God can do this to somebody like me. Like, I was violent. I was on drugs and alcohol, incarcerated for life. Like, come on, like, how many people can say that they have another chance to be out here, you know? And being here at the Dream Center is really giving me time to just allow God to do his work in my life, to change me. You know, now everything that I'm doing now is living a life for God, you know, because only God can do this, you know. And I just love everything that they're doing here at the Dream Center, you know, because they help guide me through the classes they have here, the classes they have, and it just feels like home, because this is my home, this is my community, this is my city. And it's not only touching my life and reaching my life, but it's also doing that for those out in the community that have seen me out there in the streets, running out there crazy and confused and fighting people and part of gangs. Like, the community around this area know me because I grew up here. They know my family, and they see the abuse. They seen the revolving door of our family of constantly going to prison. You know, my brother's involved in gangs. My dad is in gangs. My uncle's in gangs, and everybody here in my family are just involved in the same cycle and the same thing that's been going on in our lives. And now they see me here at the Dream Center, you know, and they're saying, you know, the Dream Center. My dad says, you know, the Dream Center's changed your life, you know. And I tell them, you know, it's not the Dream Center that did it. It's God that used the Dream Center for this. You know, it's God's work that's here, the presence of God that's here that is doing this, because this is not possible. And everyone out in the community, they see me now. you know, and before nobody wanted me, everybody was pushing me away. You know, I was like, why does everybody not want me? I'm a part of a gang, you know, why my homeboys not accepting me? Everyone was pushing me away and pushing me away. And come to find out, how God revealed it to me was that God was using them not to push me away, but to push me toward him, you know, which was to come here to the Dream Center. And now, like, before I wanted to die, before I had no hope, you know, and now, like, I'm taking vitamins, and I'm going to the gym, and I'm healthy, you know, and I want to live a life for God now. And people in the community that are watching me, is giving them hope for their families, for their kids, for their fathers and their mothers, that if God can do it for me, he could do it for anybody. You know, he can really do it for anybody. This is, you know, and every day, you know, just earlier I was crying. I was really literally crying, and I cried because like there is no possible way that this could be me. I never thought of myself. I had no self-worth. I never thought of myself. I never to know that God sees me with worth, you know, that he loves me, and just it motivates me to just continue to keep pressing on, you know, and just to be a part of this, and to be a part of the dream that Pastor Matthew here has, and everything that goes on here. You know, before I used to steal from the community. I used to rob the 7-Elevens and the stores that are around here, you know, and put fear into the community of the people here. And now to be a part here at the Dream Center, feeding people in the food line and during COVID, and being able to go out there and cut hair for the children out there, and just to serve and give back to the community is so fulfilling. How God just, you know, it just shows how God can change somebody's life and turn it around to a complete 180, you know, and that's what God's done in my life thus far.
Isn't that awesome? Thank you so much, Grady.
Dude, you are the man. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, isn't that powerful? Yeah, and he said something really interesting about time. He goes, I've had the year, and the Dream Center always talks about the luxury of time. You know, really giving people a chance, because, you know, a 30-day program, sometimes people are in survival mode. You know, they're like, oh my goodness, how do I like survive? But if you get them for a year, they really have a chance to get through layers of their life. They get a chance, as he talked about, deal with root issues, things in their heart that they've experienced. And so when people are in trauma, they act desperate and they're on the move all the time. But when they know that their food will be taken care of, they know that their clothing will be taken care of, they know that they'll be getting their GED, that the road is paid for them, it allows you to kind of take a deep breath and say, okay, I can really start rebuilding my life now. So we don't ask the question, how do we get you off drugs? We ask the question, what is your dream? Because when people have a great dream to live for, you see it all the time. I mean, I was talking to one of your agents the other day, and he said, I'm all in Family First Life now. And he gave $1,500. I called him to say thank you. I'm trying to call all of you. You've been so great. And I'll get you eventually, all of you. And he said, yeah, he goes, I'm all in. He goes, I'm in New York City. He goes, I sold everything. I sold my house, I'm living in my car, and I'm just going full throttle, no plan B. And I think that's what we kind of do here at the Dream Center, man. We're just like full throttle, no plan B. We're never looking back ever again. And we're going forward. So it's pretty cool to see this kind of it takes fire and determination as a person to rise up through adversity, or to take on a business or anything.
I love that. So we have a event we're doing in Phoenix. A lot of people know about it. Some people on here don't know about it, because these are the top managers in our company on this call. But after the event, November 15th in Phoenix, we have a fundraiser we're doing for the Dream Center. And we have a goal of raising $500,000. And somebody said to me, well, what if some people don't want to be a part of it that work with us? And I said, that's okay. We're still going to talk about it for the people that do want to be a part of it.
Sure.
And I really believe we could raise $500,000 for the Dream Center. And for people watching this, we put a lot of perks on here. If you're going to be at the event anyways, what we did is we made it where you have a front row seat at the sales training. We brought massagers in so you can get a massage during the event.
Oh, that's awesome.
There's a 4-course dinner with you, a few other people, Sean Mike, a private 4-course dinner with you, Sean Mike. You're bringing the $1 Million Man with you. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yes, Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man, the great wrestler, is actually going to be there. Boy, can he communicate? He is powerful, and you know, hopefully we can get him to walk down the aisle at the conference and throw out $100 bills and yell out, "Every man has his price," right? You know, maybe he'll try to buy Family First Life on stage, well, do a skit or something, you know. But yeah, it's gonna be great. The Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man, and he's got an inspirational story. I mean, these wrestlers, I mean, their background, their life, it's credible. I mean, these guys are sometimes injecting pain meds into their veins just to get on the ring and wrestle. I mean, he tells a lot of those stories about what it's like to be a wrestler and what he had to do just to kind of get back in the ring, and all the trauma that went along with that, and how he's kind of began to rediscover who he really is through all of that. So I think all of us will be really blessed. I think whenever somebody makes a comeback, even if it doesn't directly relate to our story, it kind of always relates to us in a certain kind of way. We can all relate to Eddie's story or Ted DiBiase's story or people like that. So it's going to be exciting. I called him and he confirmed. He said, "Yes, I'm going to be there." And I couldn't believe it. I just kind of threw it out there, to be honest with you, because he's had such a great resurgence in his life now, you know, with WWE and the WrestleManias, and he's been making more appearances than he's ever had before. So I was kind of shocked that he said yes. And so it's going to be cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I talked to you earlier today, and I was telling you that I watched a show on Netflix called Made, and that show is about a single mom that's trying to find a place to live. And if anybody watches that show, it'll give you an idea of what the Dream Center does, which made me raise our goal from 300K to 500K after watching that show, because people can go with no clothes, no food, they don't have anything, and you guys literally will house them and feed them and help them when they hit rock bottom, and they can stay there. And you said they can come and go one time, which was just insane. When you told me if they leave, you let them come right back.
Yeah. It really is a journey. And Andrew, it's, you know, when you think about what it takes to really rebuild someone's life in Los Angeles, some of the families we come in, they don't even have any ID. I mean, they're starting from the very, very beginning. I think people sometimes think that people have a good foundation to start with. There are people literally who don't even have any identification of who they are as a person. Many of the human trafficking mothers, or many of the cases that we're working with. And so we're working from a very bottom level, basic, you know, this is how you treat your kids, this is how you speak to your kids, this is how you do this and that, because all they've ever known was abuse their whole life. I mean, and so now it's just rebuilding lives. And we say a year, it could be longer if need be, whatever it takes. But this is so foundational. There's so many foundational things I think a lot of people don't understand that you have to do on a basic level to restore life. I think sometimes the government comes out and says, well, we're going to throw $500 billion at this program. I mean, housing is not everything. It's important, but the most important thing is, you know, get them in a stable place for sure. And that's what we do at the Dream Center, but get them around a culture of people who believe they can do great things. You know, that's why the recovery program works so well, because when guys come into the program, they got guys like Eddie surrounding them, you know, who have been there, and they're like, hey man, you can make it. And so there needs to be a positive peer pressure of everybody going in the direction of doing great things that pulls the new people along, that says, okay, the peer pressure here is not to slack, you know, it's to go for it. And so they get caught up in the momentum of others who are carrying them until eventually they're able to kind of carry themselves. And that positive peer pressure, as I see somebody even commenting right now, is what you feel a family first. I think that's why we connect in such a way, is because we see opportunity in everything, just like you guys do. You see opportunity. Everywhere I go, you see a possibility, you see a solution. You step out and you go for it many times, and you figure it out later as you go. And that's one of the biggest things I deal with pastors. I can always tell at conference if a pastor is going to do homeless ministry, and when they invite me to come and talk about it, by the questions that they ask at the end. Many of them will ask, well, how much insurance do you buy? Or what do you do here? If they ask those questions right off the bat, I know they're not going to do it. But they ask the questions of what if, what could happen? Those are the questions that I know that they're going to do great things. And so that's what I love about you guys. You kind of just go for it, and yeah, you get the best possible plan, but then you go for it and realize that the perfect plan starts to unfold as you go.
That's so good. Because everything we do, we don't know what we're doing, and then it unfolds into something else.
And then you're
And that's
called,
good
then
advice.
you're called the expert later, right? Because you took the risk.
Yeah. And then that's the perfect advice for a new business owner or a new producer that works with us. It's just,
Yeah.
you don't really know what's going to happen until you do it. Jesse keeps asking if he can help serve at the Dream Center. And what I want to say is this: the 500,000 we're donating is going towards the big goal of $1 million by Christmas. Can you talk about, we can actually go to that and help.
Yes.
Can you talk about what that event is?
Yes, I actually got it zeroed in now. December 18th and 19th, 2 nights. Last year it was great. We had the drive-through. This year it's everything wide open. We have got a 40-foot Family First Life, I'm not kidding you, emblem and everything, carousel that will be in the neighborhood. It's massive. It's like Disneyland style. Right there in the middle of it, we got a train that's going through the whole campus. We have right now currently, because what you guys have done, 14,000 presents in a time where people can't find presents. We have already got the call out. We got ahead of the game. Once we realized Family First Life was going to get involved, we just said, you know what, we're just going to go out and spend the money before it comes in, because we know that these guys will always do more than what they say they're going to do usually, or even less would do the job. But we went out, God, we have 14,000 presents. I got the exact number the other day. And we're just so fired up. It's going to be, the village is going to be incredible. We got a special Family First Life room that we're doing for the first time this year. We're developing this. Some ladies from Beverly Hills are coming in and they're decorating it. It's going to be absolutely gorgeous. And with Santa's Workshop, a special VIP surprise room where not only are they going to get the presents through the line, but we're going to surprise 300 families with not only the presents, but the bicycle. We're going to have some money in a little envelope to give them as well. And one by one, Family First Life is going to give them the VIP treatment, in addition to the probably 20,000 people over 2 nights that will come and be a part of it. And then on Thursday, that whole weekend as well, we're going to have a musical over at Angel's Temple. It's like a high, exciting, with kids in the community and involved in it as well, that we're going to be doing as a part of all the festivities. But Saturday, the 18th and 19th of December, I believe that's a Saturday and Sunday, from 5 to 10 p.m. at night. That's when the event will take place. And it's going to be extraordinary. I believe it's the only outreach event really in Los Angeles that we've been trying to look at the events board. And it's going to be very special this year. So we're very pumped up about it.
I have some other questions for you while we have you. So you're friends with a lot of people that have a lot of money, yeah?
Yes.
Like you're friends with Justin Bieber, you're friends with Selena Gomez. Who are some other people that you're friends with, on a personal level?
Well, of course, Rodney Darkchild Jerkins, one of the biggest hip hop producers in Hollywood. Patricia Heaton from Everybody Loves Raymond. You've seen her on that TV show, the main character there. We've had Chris Tucker has attended our church. We've had, what's her name? Nicole Scherzinger from the Pussycat Dolls. She was attending the church for a while, and we've been a part of helping a lot of people. Yeah, so it's pretty exciting.
My question is this, though, okay? Is there any, some people on a personal level where whether, fame and money has brought happiness or had them still searching for what makes them happy? Is there anything that you can say about the happiness is actually in the hard work? Is there anything to that?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that one more time?
I said, is there anything to like the happiness being part of the journey or the hard work, not the money that you end up getting or the fame that you have or anything like that?
Yeah, and I think a lot of times, people, they get to the end of the road, the money stuff doesn't really mean a whole lot. I think what it is finding, joy in the pursuit. It's learning to love where you're at on the way to where you're going, and seeing the significance. of what your influence can bring in the life of others. The ones I think that really get it are the ones who are in the middle of it, and they find ways to connect themselves to the heart of people. They don't get disconnected from the realities of what people are going through on an everyday basis, whether it be Rodney Jerkins pulling in a kid from the Dream Center and helping him write a song from the neighborhood. You know, you have to allow people into your life that will rock the frameworks of your everyday experiences so that you can get a different perspective, because the ones that, you know, tend to struggle are the ones that get kind of locked into that little bubble. They never get out of it, of just performance and doing this and that. But the ones who really begin to discover a great purpose in life to live for in the middle of what they're doing, that's the sustaining power that gets them through to the other side. Like Patricia Heaton, man, she would come out all the time. There was a time she'd come out every week and go under bridges, pick up trash with us. She would ride buses and pick up kids and bring them to the community. And I said, how have you been so happy all these years being an actor and doing all this stuff? She said, I just have to force myself into helping others and outreach. I got to make time to make myself uncomfortable and to put myself in situations that are not the easy thing that I know on a day-to-day basis. And that's what's given her such a great humanitarian heart for others. She literally makes the time along the way to serve people and make a difference. And that's one of the things I see at Family First Life, is that you guys literally make the time, you make it a major priority in your life to make money so that you could do something great.
All right, so I got another question for you. How do you, if you have a lot of people come in and there has to be a lot of initially negativity, or maybe people that give up on what they're doing temporarily, how do you stay positive, and have you had a lot of people give up on you?
Yeah, you know, I have. When I first started, I had 10 people that were supposed to start with me, and they all got homesick and left. And I was really disappointed because I was all alone. I was a 20-year-old kid in my city. I had to do everything. I had no musicians. I had no outreach workers, nobody. And I had to really fight that place of resentment in my life where, you know, I started thinking it was me against the world and all that. And then I just had to stop and say, realize that those people weren't ready for the journey yet, and really try to have perspective that was beyond just being frustrated. And one thing that I've learned is, and this is the motto of the Dream Center, is outlast everything. You know, outlast your pain, outlast the critic. You know, you don't fight people who criticize you, you just outlast them, right? You outlast everything. And that's been our kind of mindset, is that just stay in purpose one more day, keep doing what you're doing one more day. And every day that you stand and what you're supposed to do, it becomes a bridge moment for something else that could be great down the road. And that's what we've learned. It's just, you know, whoever stays the longest and outlast everything will win the battle of influence in the end. And then that's what we're trying to do. But I think as a leader, many times you tend to expect other people to be at the level that you are, when the truth is they're not at that level that you are. And it's been hard for me because I've always expected of others what I expect of myself. But then I realized there are many people I have to pull to that level of where I am, versus not expecting them overnight to be where I am. And that's been a crucial component of it. In 27 years, you know, one of the things I've tried to avoid here in downtown LA and the outreach we do is having a mindset of a martyr mentality, you know, where it's like, oh, we're the only one who cares, man, we're fighting every day. Not true. I mean, look at all these people that are supporting the Dream Center, this campaign. Everybody cares. So our mindset has never been, we're the only one who cares about humanity. Our mindset is everybody cares on a different level, in a different way. And my dad used to always say, even rats will desert a sinking ship. So don't have that sinking ship mentality. Have that mindset of great things are happening. Have a winning message of the neighborhood. You don't have to always relate to everything around you. Be different. Have something in you that other people would want to have. And so that's a battle that I fought. My dad never let me go there. Like, for example, as a kid, if someone say something bad about my dad, that I would hear, he would never let me get mad at them. And I said, why won't you let me get mad at them? They said this about you. And he said, yeah, well, they might've had a bad day, but 5 years ago, that was the same person, you know, who gave the first offering to help us build our church building. And his mindset has never been, what have you done for me lately? It's what have you done for me yesterday? And that's why he's still friends with people who at one time were doing great things. Now they're struggling, and people that the world turned their back on when they made a mistake, he's still their friends, because he said, I'm not just your friend when you could do great things for me. I met your friend when you're in rock bottom. And I think that's a heartbeat mindset you always have to maintain is love your friends through the victories and love them through the valleys and defeats of life.
Thank you for sharing, dude. You're the man. And tell Eddie he's the man too.
Eddie's still here, man. He's over here just listening. And I'm stealing sermons from that guy, man. I'm up there listening and he's a I can't wait to see what's going to happen in his life.
Hey, I always tell people you're probably the safest person in LA, because if anyone messes with you, Eddie's coming after him. Some of his...
Oh man, you know Eddie is as humble servant and the nicest guy in the world, but you know if he's put in a corner, he can still find a way.
I do not doubt that. Well, thank you so much, guys.
Thank you. I appreciate you. Have a good day.